This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Typically, most empires have a remarkably similar way of development. Firstly, they rise from a small or weak state, then they prosper, and sooner or later, the decline begins, and eventually, an empire ends. However, it is also apparent that every particular case has specific characteristics. To exemplify this assumption, this paper will compare and contrast the Ottoman and Safavid empires. Academic sources on the topic will be referenced. The time frame covered by this paper is considerably long, since the Safavid Empire ceased to exist in 1722, while the Ottomans lasted until 1922. This essay is organized in the following way. In 2 paragraphs, the countries under discussion are analyzed separately in order to use the synthesized and analyzed information for the comparison of these 2 empires. A comprehensive conclusion will be provided as well. The Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire is known as one of the largest as well as the most long-lasting political powers in the Islamic world. As mentioned in the profound study by Quataert, the empire grew from a small state, which existed from around the 13th century, until its official elimination in 1922. Given the fact that the empire had enlarged immensely over time, the typical problem, which is experienced by the majority of kingdoms, arose. The Ottoman Empire became so large that it became considerably challenging to control and coordinate the centralized power in different regions of the state. Accordingly, in the 19th century, the Ottomans experienced an evident decline that was largely determined by the changing balance of powers in Europe. The Safavid Dynasty. The Safavid Empire is known as the longest-lasting Persian dynasty in the past 1,000 years, as it ruled Iran from 1500 to 1722. The state is also known as one of the primary rivals of the Ottoman Empire, since both countries were in the same region and strived for prosperity by relatively similar methods. The rise of the Iranian dynasty was largely dependent on the leadership of its most recognized rulers, namely Shah Ismail I and Shah Abbas, as the country did not have many economic resources. The inheritors of the dynasty failed to maintain the power of the empire. Comparison of the 2 selected empires. It is difficult to compare these 2 countries, as they were closely related in terms of their political goals, methods of expansion, and other aspects. However, it could be stated with certainty that the rivalry between the Ottoman and Safavid empires represented the controversy between 2 primary branches of Islam, which are Sunni and Shia, respectively. The use of military power to expand westward and spread the faith of Islam could be considered as typical characteristic of both countries. However, it is possible to mention that the Safavid Empire fell due to the fact that the rulers who came to power after Shah Abbas did not have the same level of ambition, and they also lacked an understanding of how to develop the country. The Ottoman Empire came to decline as well, but it prospered for a considerably longer time, and its fall was primarily determined by the pressure of political powers in Europe. Conclusion. In conclusion, it is essential to state that both countries under discussion represented significant political powers of the Islamic world, which had a considerable impact on European and Middle East history. The comparison of the 2 empires shows that the success of the Safavid dynasty was largely dependent on the leadership qualities of its founders. In this respect, the Ottoman Empire could be considered a much more powerful state. However, it also eventually came to an end due to the changing balance of European political powers. Did you like this Ottoman and Safavid empires comparison sample? To get more works like this one, make sure to check out the free database of academic paper examples at ivypanda.com. You will find thousands of samples for all your study needs, without even having to register.